All right, we are going to be reviewing for the Intro to Algebra Exit Slip, which really has to do with taking what you've already done on Khan Academy with combining like terms, writing expressions, one-step and two-step equations, and puts it in the context of real-life situations. So we're going to start off, and we're just going to do a few problems, and hopefully seeing how this unfolds will help you prepare for that exit slip. So we start off with this sort of scenario. It says Peyton goes to the store and buys 8 tomatoes. When he checks out, his total bill was $12. It says to write an expression that represents this situation, where he bought 8 tomatoes and each of them cost X dollars. So we say, okay, we know that the total amount that he paid equals $12. And so he bought 8 tomatoes, and each one of them cost some amount of money. And so in any situation, let's say, for example, I'm going to kind of sidebar over here just to picture this. Let's say that he bought 2 tomatoes that were each $2. Then if I asked you how much was that, you would say, well, 2 tomatoes, if they were each $2, then that's 2 times 2, right? And it'd be 4. If I said he bought 6 tomatoes that were each $2, then you would say, okay, each tomato was $2, and there were 6 of them, right? So that means 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? Which is the same thing as 6 times 2. So you say, oh, okay, well, that would come out to be $12. So we know that whatever the cost of each tomato was, we have to take 8 and multiply it by that cost. So this is all the question's asking us to do, is to write an expression. If you bought 8 tomatoes and each of them was X dollars, then we're going to multiply 8 by the cost of each tomato, and the total was 12. Now, if the problem had asked us to solve for this, then if you've already done the one-step equations with multiplication, you would know. You'd say, okay, well, if this is $8, 8 tomatoes at X dollars equals 12. Then I could say, okay, well, I'll tell you what. If I had to multiply X by 8 to get 12, then if I divide 12 by 8, that's going to come out, right? If I divide each side by 8, that's going to come out to be X. So X equals 12 over 8. X equals 12 divided by 8. And then you can get fancy and simplify and say, okay, well, that's 1, X equals 1 and 4/8, right? And 4/8 simplifies to 1/2. So this each tomato cost $1.50, which you could also say is $1.50. But the question doesn't even really ask us to do that. The point is that we understand how to set this up as an expression. Here's another problem. Blake works a job where he makes where he makes H dollars an hour. So we don't know how much he makes. We're going to call it H. Just, we can call it whatever. Write an expression that shows the total amount of money he made if he worked 5 hours and also made $22 in tips. Okay, well, once again, I'm going to kind of sidebar for a second. Let's just say that you made $5 an hour. Well, if you worked for 1 hour, then you had 1 hour, or $5, because it's $5 for an hour. So that would come out to just be 5, right? If you work 2 hours, then you have 2 5s, right? Because each hour is a 5. So 2 hours means 2 5s. So you'd say 2 times 5, which would come out to be $10. And 3 hours would be $15, and so on and so on. So if we know he worked 5 hours and each hour he made H dollars an hour, right, then we just need to multiply that together. We say, okay, well, he worked for 5 hours, and each of those hours he made H dollars. So 5 times H is how much he made. But then we also have to add this $22 in tips. This has nothing to do with the hours, right? He just made 22 $1 bills. So we need to add to how much he made per hour this $22. And we're done. That's the expression. And then it says, how many hours did he work if he made a total of $67 that day? So if this expression happened to equal $67, then what is H? What's the number of hours that he worked? What's the amount of money he made per hour? And once again, if we have some number plus 22 equals 67, this is like the inverse property of subtraction, right? we have this one term, 5h, and when we add it to 22, we get 67. So if we take 67 minus 22, right? If we take 22 away, we'll be left with the 5h. And we could take that and say, okay, well, 67 minus 22, what is that? Well, that's 45, right? So 45 equals 5h. And then we say, okay, if we had to multiply h by 5 to get 45, then if we take 45 and divide it by 5, then we will be left with h. Well, fabulous. What is 45 divided by 5? Well, let's see. 5 times what equals 45? Oh, 5 times 9 equals 45. So 45 divided by 5 equals 9. So 9 equals h. So he made $9 an hour, and we've solved our problem. Let's take a look at another one. A store makes $15 every hour, and it's open for Y hours. And then they also have to pay $18 in rent every day. So the question is, how many hours was the store open in one day if they made $42 after they paid their rent? So let's think about this. If they made $15 every hour, then to figure out the total amount of money, we just take 15 and we say, okay, well, however many hours they were open, that's going to be how much they made. But now we have to take into account that then from that, they have to take away $18 for rent. Well, take away means subtract. And it says, how many hours were they open if they made $42? So what is y when this expression equals 42? Once again, we say if we had to subtract 18 from this to get 42, then if we add 18, we're going to be left with just this 15y. Well, 42 plus 18 is 60, right? So 60 equals 15y. I'm going to come up here. 60 equals 15y. And once again, we're saying if we had to multiply y by 15 to get 60, then we can take 60 and divide it by 15 to be left with just y. And what is it? Well, 15, 30, 45, 60. 15 times 4 is 60, so y equals 4. So if the store made $42 after they paid their rent for the day, then they must have been open for 4 hours. Last problem we're going to work on. Kathy works 5 hours on Monday and gets $3 in tips. She works 4 hours on Tuesday and gets $7 in tips. After those 2 days, she's made $109. Okay, so let's think about this. We're trying to figure out how much she makes per hour. I'm going to go ahead and say that that's X. So Kathy works 5 hours on Monday. So she made 5 times what she makes in 1 hour because she worked 5 hours. And she made $3 in tips. And she works 4 hours on Tuesday. So, and she made 4 times as much as she makes in 1 hour on Tuesday. And she made $7 in tips. This is all her getting money. This is all positive, right? Positive 5x, plus 3, plus 4x, plus 7. So now I can combine like terms. I can say, okay, well, she worked a total of 9 hours, right? So I can take 5x and 4x and say she made a total of 9 times what she makes in 1 hour. And she got a total of $10 in tips. I've now simplified this expression. And I'm told that after 2 days, this whole thing, this is 2 days, right? She made a total of $109. Well, something plus 10 equals 109. That means that something, the 9x, must be equal to 109 minus 10, which would come out to be 99. And if I had to multiply x by 9 to get 99, then I can just simply take 99 and divide it by 9, and that's going to equal x. And we can simplify this and say, well, 9 will go into 99, right? 9 goes into 99. How many groups of 9 can I make? 1. Nothing's left over. 1. So Kathy makes $11 per hour. This is just kind of showing you how we can take real life situations and use algebra. So you're going to go onto my website, and Intro to Algebra Exit Slip is what you need to work on. Appreciate it.